let me start by kind of introing Jennifer. And I don't know where to start. And I don't know if it's kosher, but for the first speaker, can I throw away the bio and just talk off the cuff, Jennifer? In that I feel like I know you
Sure.
quite well. So we met over a decade ago, it would be. Yeah, maybe even like 12.
It's probably, I think it's about 12 years ago. It's a long
Yeah,
time. I have no
it's a,
concept of time, so it always feels like about a year ago.
which
It
is
doesn't matter how
interesting
long it is, right?
given you
Yeah.
actually look at the Akashic records. But Jennifer and I met many years ago, shall we say, over a decade, in LA, and we were part of an international business mastermind then. And I loved Jennifer from the moment I met her. And then we also did some work with a coach, Anne McKevitt, and did some workshopping there together. I'm a vegetarian, Jennifer's a vegan. We had all these things in common, and I just loved her presence. So I can remember going to one of our meetings in New York once. I just remember seeing you coming in the room, or feeling you even before you arrived coming in the room. She had this incredible presence, and I was always curious to know more about that. And so I know Jennifer has a really fascinating background in forensics, and has now kind of moved more into woo-woo land. But I can tell you she's far from woo-woo. This woman has the goods, has concrete knowledge and experience behind what she's going to share. And also I know she's a dog lover like I am, so has a fur baby and a human baby or child. So I'd love to just throw over to you, Jennifer, and go share away, because we're so excited to have your gold here on opening up our summit.
Well, I don't even know what to say when you invited me, and then on top of that, you told me that I would be opening up the summit, so to speak. I thought, holy cow, that's pretty incredible. And anything that you are attached to, I'm always going to say yes to, because you're just such a pure heart and so smart. And I know everyone watching knows that about you. So I feel like I'm just going to communicate the rest telepathically. And yeah, I'm sure I hear that a lot, that when I enter a room, I have a presence. And I actually used to be really shy. And I feel like I'm pretty understated, right? Like I just always feel like, I'm chill, and I'm, happy to be in the background. But forensics definitely taught me to have really solid boundaries. And so I think people are surprised when they meet me and I'm woo. And I always have a policy that says, I'll help you work on your stuff, but you don't get to run your stuff on me. And I think a lot of people expect healers to be pushovers and, they just don't expect someone to be so in their power, I think, a lot of times. And so it's not fun to have to set those boundaries. But anyways, and the other thing is with the presence, I had to learn when I left forensics and start my business that because I was holding myself back, and it was because I was worried what they would think of me. What are all these detectives I used to work with going to think of me? What are the judges going to think of me? What are the other, I'll say political figures in that system going to think of me? And I thought, well, I had to really sit and say, okay, well, this is costing me a lot of money because I'm not taking action in my business because I'm worried that people are going to see a new title behind my name and it's going to make them, cough up a fur ball, basically. And then I had to sit with it and go, okay, do I actually care what they think? Like, in the grand scheme of things, I need to live my purpose. This calling has been nudging me more and more. I kind of was just forced to take the leap. And if they don't like me, that's okay. They're on a different path. But that's also a gift to me, because I don't want anyone in my space that can't honor and respect what I'm trying to do and understand the intention behind what I'm doing. And the irony of it was that so many of those people became my clients. And so many of those people were saying things like, yeah, we always knew you were a weirdo. We always knew you were intuitive. How come you knew so much about cases when there was no physical evidence, but just things, right?
Wow.
And so it was funny to see how much I was holding myself back. And I can see that happening now for people. There's a lot. And I can tell you from my work in forensics that I had a rude awakening at 23 years old when I had been conditioned to believe that school teachers could be trusted, that police officers could be trusted, that judges could be trusted, that doctors could be trusted. And I know the majority of them can.
Yes.
But when you are investigating crimes against children involving teachers, police officers, judges, pediatricians, and so on, fast forward to today, people are having a lot of cognitive dissonance. And I know it is actually challenging to use your words, right? Because there's so many belief systems that are collapsing simultaneously when we realize that maybe there is something more going on. And I'm not here to say what is or what isn't going on, but I am here to say that people are asking enough questions, right? Because their own cognitive dissonance is kicking in, right? Maybe people are finally saying, maybe my government doesn't care as much about me as I thought they did. Maybe, you know, my life is more disposable than what I thought it was. Maybe my life does actually have a price on it. And I know these are kind of tough conversations, but the cool thing about the Akashic Records, which I know we're going to talk about, is that it's just love and truth. It's the quickest way to collapse illusions. Whatever illusions are running in our own life, whatever we're wanting to see, whatever we're not wanting to see, the things in our business that we need to understand, it holds the truth of our purpose, why we're here, what we're here to contribute, what we're here to learn, what we're here to master. Everything has consciousness, and so that means our business has its own consciousness. And if our business has its own consciousness, then that means we can be asking it questions that we're willing to hear about. You know, so similar to what's going on with the world right now, the experience that we're having is based on the questions that we're willing to ask to allow in the information that supports the beliefs that we're attached to. As soon as we decide that we're not attached to any beliefs, then we can hold multiple possibilities.
Ooh. So
is that a little deep?
I'm already getting a mind pretzel going on.
Yeah.
And I love that idea of love and truth and collapsing illusions. Straight away, that expands me to want to ask more questions. Yeah. So shall we dive into the subject of how do we tap into these Akashic records, and particularly during this time, so anytime, any economy, when we are questioning authority and what's going on, how do we do that?
We first have to, there's some meta level things that we have to do. We have to first decide that we're willing to release attachment to any assumptions that we've made or any expectations that we have. If you think about simple expectations that we make, I'm sure, you know, when we meet someone for the first time and we've only spoken to them on the phone, we create a construct in our head of what they're going to look like. And then we meet them in person, and most times they don't look the way we expected them to. But we didn't know that we had the expectation until it was in front of us. And then we realized, oh, I expected this person to be taller or shorter or, you know, whatever. And so the same is true for what's going on in general. So the Akashic Records, to give you an example of my business, when all of this first went down and I realized, oh, there's some bigger things at play here. And everyone instantly started talking about pivoting. So I was like, oh my God, I got to pivot. Oh, I got to pivot. Where am I going to pivot to? Oh. And then it didn't feel right. And it wasn't me asking an empowered question, right? And so I said, okay, well, I better go into my records and find out what the consciousness of my business wants and whether that matches the consciousness I want to hold. Are we going to partner together and move this thing forward? Because our business is really just a container for the expression of our purpose, right? And so we have to nurture it and we have to speak the language of it. And so it turns out I didn't need to pivot. Whew, what a relief. Can you think about how damaging that might have been to my business, right? Had I pivoted. I didn't need to pivot. Right. I can offer new things. And I've actually downloaded new programs, and I'll happily share them with you because they're pretty fun. You know, this time is actually a great time of creation for a lot of us. But what my guides told me, and I think is true for a lot of service-based business owners, is that I just needed to amplify. I just needed to amplify my message. So the first thing that happened for me is I had this primal feminine energy come over me when all of this went down. And I was like, not my planet, not my people, not my body. No, this is not happening, right? And that deepening into my belly, into that fire center of just like, not anger. It wasn't like a human anger. It was like a deeper soul level anger of like, yeah, no, this is not happening. And that deepening of my purpose, that conviction I had of like, yeah, I don't even care now whether my business makes money or not, but I'll be damned if I let a bunch of small and medium-sized businesses be decimated because of, other things that I see at play. And so I went right into that mode. I was like, okay, guys, tell me what I need to do for my community. Tell me what I need to do. What are people needing from me right now? So they were very clear that we need to protect our third eye and we need to protect our light body. Mm-hmm. Those are our two greatest assets. We know that our frequency determines how magnetic we are in our business in any economy, but this is bigger than that, right? We can't be having any misinformation, I'll put it that way, coming into our energy field. So we have to be vigilant and we have to be stewards, very, very exemplary stewards of our third eye and our light body. So they downloaded some energy for me to channel to my community, which I did just recently. And then they said, on a 3-dimensional level, we want you to help people learn financial resilience. And I was like, oh, I can't teach financial resilience. Well, guess what? I can. Years ago, and probably actually around the time we met, I had been guided by actually someone we both know, Linda Jones. If you guys don't know Linda Jones, you'll want to know Linda. She's very heart-centered. She's a very, very, very smart financial advisor. She knows what's going on. She's not going to tell you everything that she knows. She's going to present it to you in a way that you can digest. But she told me at that time, you've got to get ready. You've got to buy up physical gold and silver. There will be a time in the economy in the not so distant future where a dollar bill will be worth less than a banana peel. And we're in that time, right? We're heading into that time right now. And I hate to say that to folks because I know that can sound scary, but there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of cool things you can do. And I'm not the best person to tell you that, but I will tell you to follow Linda. I will tell you to follow Jaden Sterling, who's also a very trusted advisor of mine. They're very, very spiritual folks and they know what's going on and they'll be able to guide you. So anyways, I was told that, and I thought, I'm just this healy-feely person, gold and silver. Well, it turns out, because I also bought it on the stock market, that was a very good move on my part. And there were also some other investments I made last year that were very good investments. And again, I don't consider myself an investor. I probably need to own that mantra, but I was just kind of following intuition and following the guidance that I was seeking. But anyways, in my business,
we've just had a question. We've had a couple, but one is, can you repeat Linda's last name again? Someone's looking that up.
Oh, Jones, Linda Jones, Jones.
And isn't it Linda P. Jones? P. Jones with a
Linda P. Jones.
And we also had another question, but we'll come back to from Amy. Thanks, Amy. And that is, can you zoom out a bit and actually define what are the Akashic records?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So we can come back to that.
I'm just rambling on. Okay, so the Akashic records, they've been spoken about in different religious texts. Akasha is just Sanskrit for basically the energy of all that is. And so each of us has our own blueprint. It's essentially a roadmap, a blueprint for our soul, for this lifetime. What's our purpose? What are we here to create? Why do I have this illness that keeps reoccurring? How can I heal my body? Why did I choose my parents? Why can't I find, true love? I mean, there's really anything you can ask. And they're overseen by guides that have no agenda other than wanting the best for us. And so they give us the information from a place of love, but it's always truth. And they give us the information to the degree that we're willing to receive it. So we have to, we never want to ask anyone questions if we've already decided what we want to be told by whoever, right? Whether it's a psychic or whatever. And so because everything has consciousness, that this planet has an Akashic record, the galaxy has an Akashic record, animals have an Akashic record, everyone has, or when I say everyone, I say that loosely, every every being of consciousness has an Akashic record, and it also holds stuff from other lifetimes. A lot of the reasons why we have money issues is because we've had crazy things happen in other lifetimes that, you know, for people that are stumbling over their own feet all the time, and I was there, right? Like, why can't I crack the code? I'm saying all the mantras, I'm doing all the things, I'm doing all the journaling, I'm, you know, A, B, and seeing my way through my money story. A lot of times it's because there's, you know, there's stuff from past lives that we pick up.
Mm.
So I don't know if that was helpful. I do have more information on my website if you want to check
and
that
I was
out.
just going to say, for anyone who wants to, if you go to the Facebook Live, so if you jump across to the Superhuman Summit group and ask to join there, Stephen, who opened with the meditation this morning, has just put Jennifer's website and all of the addresses and links. So you can go there and grab everything.
Thanks, Stephen.
He's a good man.
We appreciate you, Stephen. So yeah, we have this consciousness in our business, and we can tap into it to determine whatever. And so in my case, you know, I was told about the financial resilience, which I mentioned. And I realized, yeah, I actually have created this successful Akashic Record certification and also another certification that has generated a lot of money for me over the years. It was never part of the plan. I always thought I was just going to do readings and teach people Reiki and talk about the law of attraction, you know, and that would be my next 40 plus years of my business. But my clients kept asking me to create a certification, and I was like, I can't, I don't know how to do it. And they said, well, you do, you just need to ask your record keepers how to do it. And why are you hoarding this information? They would get upset with me. They thought I was trying to withhold, and I wasn't. I was trying to be honorable. And then I realized, well, yeah, I probably should, because it is part of my purpose to teach the Akashic Records. I had been told that in a recurring dream, which if you download any of my stories, you'll hear about that dream. And so it turned into this thing that I stumbled into. And now, all these years later, I have multiple aspects of this certification program. And I realized, oh, yeah, I have lifelong customers. Not that was ever my plan. I just love these people. And I love being able to support them. And I love that they want to learn how to do this to make other people feel good. I can't be all things to all people. Not everyone's going to resonate with me, but this method is very effective. So if I can train up as many people as I can to go out and do this work, then it multiplies the efforts, right? It's a legacy-based thing I ended up creating, not intending it. I'm touching a lot of lives. But yes, on a very three-dimensional level, it has created financial resilience for me because I have lifetime revenue from that. Every year, people are investing in their training with me. And then additionally, what happens is a lot of these folks say, well, Jennifer's already my spiritual teacher, and now I need to grow my business. I'm going to ask her to be my business coach too.
I'm getting chills while you talk.
It took this event. Think about this. This is crazy, right?
Yeah.
It took this event and someone's very simple question to me to go, oh my God. Because I was in such a solution mode, right? Like, I've got to help people. I've got to help them. What can I do to help them? It's got to be something like, and then this dropped in. I would teach people how to create their own certification programs so that they could package up their wisdom, multiply their efforts, leave a legacy, and of course have something that really will create financial resilience in any economy. Because back in 2008, I had already been in business for a few years, but I was such a healy-feely. I was so out of my body. I didn't even know we were in a recession. I did not know. I didn't put any energy towards it. Looking back, I can see that, yeah, there were times where, you know, the flow of money wasn't as stable, but I just thought it was something I did. So I just started marketing more, right? I was like, hey, maybe people didn't get my broadcast. I'm just going to say, hey, I'm here, right? But in 2008, and I know these times are different, but because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the world, and I wasn't buying into the rhetoric, and I wasn't listening to the mainstream media, I had the freedom, I had the lack of interference to my third eye, right? To be creative. And it was in that time, and a lot of people know this story, I had a list of 650 people because I had no internet savvy. I had a business that was global, but no real online presence. I had 650 people on my list. I sent out one email. I made $250,000 from that one email.
Oh,
And then with follow-up, I made another 150,000 all in 1 month. Totally oblivious to the fact that it was a recession. So don't look to me, by the way, right, to teach you how to recession-proof your business, because a lot of people are marketing that now, and I've written some posts about that. It actually really annoys me because it's not a recession. It's a different type of economy right now, but there are many upsides to an economy like this. And one of them is that, yes, we're having a massive ending, right? It's like someone's dropped the big planetary foot on us and we're all like, what in the world just happened?
yeah.
But just as that energy is going down, we have energy rising. And in times like this is when a lot of millionaires get created. This is where a lot of inventions get created that have a massive benefit to humanity. This is also when a lot of actual structures get built. So even though it feels like endings, we are literally straddling two worlds right now. It's the law of cycles, right? We're having a massive ending and a massive new beginning. So if we can focus on how do I stay in my creative energy, tapping into the divine mind, it's already been created. Whatever you want to create, some version of that has already been created. If you want to be a millionaire during this, it's already been imprinted into the divine mind. You just need to ask your Akashic records how to call in that wisdom, how to call in that energetic formula to create that for yourself.
So Lou Kelly has just asked, so how can we tap into our records? And I think that's really valuable to talk about right now when they're saying, okay, if it's already there, you know, the thoughts can become real at some dimension. How do I access that if I've never done that before?
For sure. So I will say that I have a simple process in a free gift that I have on my website. So if you go to my website, you'll see the Soul Acceleration System. You'll download more about the Akashic Records and the actual PDF of how to open them. I also have a training program because obviously it's deeper. And so let's assume that everyone's open, they believe in this, they believe in their capacity, they're not always second guessing themselves, they're used to asking their own questions and answering them, right? Rather than feeling like everyone else knows better for them than what they do. Then you're going to create some sort of sacred space, right? Some sort of sacred invitation to invite in your record keepers. That's who you're inviting in. Your record keepers understand that. It may not make sense, but the power of intention coupled with this pure intent of, I want to connect with my record keepers. I want to connect with my highest masters and teachers to show me the truth of X, right? So maybe you go in one day and say, I want to be shown what I need to know about my business. Or I need to be shown, I just need to feel like myself again. I need to connect with my soul's essence again. Because the beauty of the Akashic Records is that as soon as you open them, you feel it. You vibrationally feel the essence of you. It's like a homecoming every single time you go into them. And in times like this, when we are feeling ungrounded, and sometimes we're feeling like maybe there's no point, and other times we're like, yeah, this is the best time to be alive. And then we're like, oh, this is the worst time to be alive, and everything in between, right? Everyone's going through it, honestly. To connect in with the remembrance of who you really are is very grounding and very purifying. And then it's also very healing because you're seeing the truth, and the truth sets us free.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, we can co-create in there because the same frequency of your Akashic Records is the same as your theta brainwaves, and your theta brainwaves control your subconscious. And your subconscious is very ego-driven. It loves to be right. So whatever stories are in your subconscious, it will prove them right. So that's why we always want to be shifting anything out of there that is telling us something we don't want to be playing out. And so the more we shift the stories that we don't want to hold and then replace them with stories we do want to hold, we can be creating those realities. And then on top of that, the guides can provide healing, right? So for example, in the case of a business, years ago, there was a team that I had, and they had worked with a few of my colleagues, and they sabotaged the back end of all of our businesses. They were just petulant little teenagers, basically. And it cost me, I don't know what it cost other people, but it was a lot. It cost me $20,000 to literally replace all the damage they had done with broken links and deleting files and like just so much stuff, right? All because we were holding them accountable to do the job that we needed them to do. I know one of my friends, spent like about $50,000, right? And so it is what it is. And yeah, we called it in and we can analyze all that. But my point is that what do you think happened after that? How willing do you think I was to hire new team members, right? I was so afraid of getting burned again that I started doing more stuff on my own. Well, then what happens when you do that? Then you bottleneck, and then your income stagnates, right? And then you're in this catch-22 because you know you can't grow your business. You know you can't serve more people unless you have help, but your story says, oh, I can't trust myself to hire the right people. I'm probably going to hire the wrong people again. I don't know what to do. And so going into the records, for example, we'll clear that kind of stuff out so that we don't keep expecting the past to repeat itself. We get to keep creating a new reality based on the beliefs that we do want to hold. Well, now, of course, I have an amazing team. They are the most amazing gatekeepers. If people are, not getting the message that they can't be running their stuff on me, they just don't let it come onto my radar, right? And but on top of that, they understand the vision. They're very connected to it. They understand that I just don't allow people into my business unless you understand the work we're trying to do with people. It's not about the money. The money is just a byproduct of the service. We're here to serve, and we're here to make these kind of impacts in the world. So anyways, my point is that I had to shift that out as well, heal the consciousness within me, but also within my business so that I could create a new reality. So all of that to say, it's a very efficient tool. It does a lot of things. And I think it's really important, especially in times like this, for everyone to have access to this, whether it be through me or someone else. I don't actually do readings anymore. I've just done 30,000 plus readings. I don't have a need to keep doing that. I've trained people how to do that. But it's with so much flying around and so much misinformation and mixed information, misinformation, but also mixed information. There has to be something available to us that cuts through all the crap, right? And just shows us the truth of what is, even if temporarily ripping that Band-Aid off is a little bit scary. At least we can't deal with anything if we don't have the awareness of what we're dealing with, right? And
so
this is true with money, right?
How do people right now, if they're going, I'm seeing lots of people out there that are selling things or telling them I have answers to things right now in this economy. How do people tap in and trust their own judgment and find, are able to be more discerning in a way, especially when they're coming maybe from a bit of fear that I might be grasping at things. So how do they really find and trust that intuition and, really understand and be discerning?
I love that you asked that. So for me, it's because I'm just very service focused, and I didn't think I could be any more passionate about my purpose. Turns out you just need a pandemic to light a flame under my butt, and I'm going to be all over it. And so the cool thing about that, and certainly was not my intention, I was in such a mama bear, like just primal protective energy, but again, from that spiritual place, right? I went into like light warrior energy. This has been my most profitable time ever. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because service will always lead, right? Service will always win. People will feel that. People can feel from me, I am not happy about this. Let me help you. I have got something to help you. And if you don't choose me, that's okay. I will refer you to someone. I want to make sure you're supported so you don't get screwed by this situation. That's it, right? And so because I'm coming from such a heart place and I'm so embodied in the conviction of purpose that I have right now, people feel that. And so even if they're triggered, and some people have admitted to me that they're triggered. But here's the thing. If people had money story issues and they didn't like being sold to before, they're not going to like it now. It's going to be more amplified. And on top of that, if people are already looking for a way out of a relationship with you and they need to make you wrong to do it, they will make it about money, because money is the easiest way to throw people under the bus. And that was happening pre-COVID. It's the easiest way to get out of romantic relationships, friendships, Engagements, oh, I don't have the money, or you're too expensive now, or whatever, right? So money, it's never about the money. And yeah, I had a woman lose her marbles on me. You didn't mention COVID. And I went to her Facebook profile and it had COVID across the top of it. And everything was like, COVID this, COVID that, COVID, COVID, COVID. She was like in the vortex of it. And because I didn't use those actual words purposefully, because people are getting smucked all over the face with it all the time, I'm not the person, right? I've always held the energy of, I will be the light. I will talk about these things. I'm not an epidemiologist. You don't need me to keep talking about COVID. I am not a political pundit. You don't need me to keep giving you political rhetoric, right? You come to me for these reasons. Yeah. And so I'm acknowledging that we are in a time where you're needing to learn. You're probably more aware than ever that you need financial resilience. These are crazy times and I want to help you, right? For her, she needed to hear that, but it wasn't about that, right? Because she just needed to fight with someone. And I don't take that stuff personally, by the way. Yeah. But we have to be, regardless of what's going on in the economy, if we are not serving, it means we're stuck in our own stuff. We're making it about us. And people cannot hire us when we're making it about us. I'm not qualified. I don't know. Maybe. And the one thing that got kicked up for me that I had to check myself on, because I think those of us in a serving industry have a tendency to go into servitude, right? We have a tendency to go into martyrdom. We have a lot of programming around that. Yeah. And so I went into a little bit of life raft energy. And guess what? You can only fit a few people in a life raft. And then if it starts getting stormy, you get pulled underneath there, right? And you're going to end up potentially drowning too.
Taking on water.
So totally. So I had to go, and again, with my records, I'm like, okay, who am I meant to serve right now? Because I can change my business model right now. I have so many different types of people that work with me that I can move things around. And they're like, no, you need to work with leaders. Mm-hmm. You are meant to be the lighthouse. You have always had enough faith in people's ability to rise to the occasion. And so you're going to hold that energy, you're going to hold firm in that energy, and it's going to be tempting for you to want to throw out some life rafts. And you can have compassion for those folks, and you can have love for them, and understand that it's someone else's journey to learn how to overcome being the life raft, and how to have enough faith in people's ability to find their way. And so that is the energy I've been holding on to, and that's the energy I've been sharing with the teachers that I've trained, and so on, to make sure that we are holding people in the truth of their capability and their infinite potential and their capacity to navigate all kinds of things, including this ascension.
And I've certainly seen you serving your community on your Facebook Lives, and you've been doing so much in giving. You know, you can really see that service. And I know we just had another question about, can we get a clearer idea about our own records and some tips or how we can access them? And I think one of the ways is to go on some of Jennifer's lives on her Facebook, because she really does provide excellent information and support. But is there anything else you'd want to add there? I'm loving the life raft analogy. I'm already going, oh man, you know, it's so easy to want to put everyone in and to save or help everyone. But I love that, you know, we have to be discerning about who we can really serve and support as well.
And here's the thing, like, I'll just be completely transparent with everyone, and I'm sure everyone can relate. Like, I've got a 9-year-old, I've got a husband, I've got a few businesses I'm running, and my energy reserves are different right now. We're all having to pump out our adrenals, whether we want to admit it or not, are being taxed right now. And so the amount of effort that we have to put into our day-to-day life, even though things have slowed down for the most part and for most people, we just are not going to have the same reserves of actual physiological vitality. And I only have so much bandwidth, so I have to decide where that's going to go and where it's not. And I'm going to be of much greater service to way more people if I just broadcast what's coming through, if I teach them how to fish, so to speak, right? Even though I don't fish, obviously. And have enough respect for people and the fact that we all chose to be here at this time. right? And even though it sucks pretty hard a good chunk of the time, it really does, right? I don't care how much light and love and all this, so it shall pass. Like, if people are being honest, if they're willing to be honest about it, this ascension process is not for the birds. Let's be honest, right?
Not comfortable.
And it's not, there is nothing comfortable about this, and nor should it be. We know this spiritually and we know this intellectually, right? That this is happening for us, and we, don't call anything to us that we can't handle, and we chose to be here. And isn't it great that we're witnessing the Great Awakening and all the stuff people are expecting people like me to say? But I'm just going to be honest and say, yeah, but on a 3D level, it sucks. It's not fun. There are aspects of it, of course, that are great, right? But it's not all roses. Yeah. And it's okay to have it's your like emotional compass being a little bit wonky and
in the internet it went a bit wonky. I was going to say it's like a wake-up call when you're in this beautiful, delicious sleep, isn't it? It's like, wake up. Yeah. I don't want to wake up. Yeah.
Yeah. We're all cracked open. I literally feel like someone has taken my chest cavity and just ripped it open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Which is good. But it's also like, what is happening? And I think we need to acknowledge that, because there's way too many people spiritually bypassing right now and telling everyone this too shall pass. Well, actually, this too shan't pass, because we're not even remotely going anywhere near our old way of being. It's impossible. We've all changed too much internally. The way we do business, back to your point, we have to sell. It's our duty to sell. And I don't mean that in a guilt trip, blame, shame, guilt way. I just mean that we're here to share our gifts, and our business is the best way to share those. And so the less we let people know how we can help them, and the whole wait and see thing, like a lot of clients that I have were just coming on board with me. They had physical locations, and I feel for them. It's painful. Like, I so badly want to life wrap them, because they had physical locations and overnight their income went away and they had to lay off staff. How do you coach people through that? Right? Yeah, you help them get online, and they had already had a sense that they needed to get online. That's hard. That hurts my heart so bad. And I'm going to show them what's possible. I'm going to give them ample ideas of how to keep generating income. And I'm going to teach them financial resilience, so that the next time this happens, and there will be another time in our lifetime where we have a financial dip of some sort. It's just the way the economy works, because it's all rigged. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it is rigged. So you have to learn how to play the game. And so we can reasonably expect, because it's been 12 years, right? We can reasonably expect in the next 10 or 15 years that there will be another financial shift of some sort. Maybe sooner, maybe a little bit later, but somewhere around there. And so instead of making ourselves wrong for what we did or didn't do, let's just tap in with our business and say, what can I do now? And how can I set myself up in my business so that my business can run without me, or at least run without me for a good 6 to 12 months without it having a massive financial impact to me? And how can I also set up my personal resources in such a way that I don't have to lose sleep, and I don't have to be in a position where I'm making decisions from a place of panic and desperation rather than from a place of groundedness and possibility.
And I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of the work I do with my leading ladies, I'll often talk about thinking about a 10-year game, not just a 1-year game, and really to think, how do I spend less, earn more, but invest wisely along the way? Because I think when the economy is good, we get caught up in, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, and we just get caught in there without thinking longer term. And right now, it's almost like we're existing in two worlds. And so for some people, it's how do I switch between those? How do I lay foundations for the new world while I've still got a foot in the old world? So we've got about 5 minutes left before we open up for a few questions. Yeah, I know. It goes so fast. So maybe you could talk to that a little. And we do have a question from Kendra. Kendra, I think it is, so I'll come back to that.
Okay. Yeah, so with our businesses, we need to find something. We need to, first of all, clear anything from our business that we can't be bringing with us, right? And I gave an example. I know my personal example because I want to speak from a place of it's, I'm not looking down on everyone and I've got it all together, right? Like we're all on this journey. And that's just one example of many of stuff I've had to clear up from the past. We want to have a clear foundation. We want to have a clear sense of, do I need to pivot and what does that look like? And what are the exact resources that I need to pivot? Or do I need to amplify? I'm not saying there aren't other options, but those seem to be the two that I'm seeing showing up in the records when I'm coaching people on how to work through their business. Most service-based businesses just need to amplify their message. And the issue that was happening pre-COVID was that they were complacent. I think we all had a level of complacency, similar to what you said, right? And complacency isn't going to get us through this. A wait and see, that's not about creating our economy, right? Wait and see is not a good strategy at any time, but especially right now. And what I noticed right from the beginning when this happened is that there was different ways to be in the conversation. This was back several weeks when we really thought it was just going to be 2 weeks and we were all going to be getting back to things, right? And then we finally realized after 2 weeks, like, oh, something bigger is happening here. I think we need to have some long-term forecasting, right? And so anyways, people were observing the conversation. People were checked out of the conversation. People were pushing and pulling in participation with the conversation. Some people were participating in this conversation. Some people were leaders within the conversation. And I said, no, that's not where I'm going to be. And I'm saying this for all of you for a reason. I decided I was going to lead the conversation. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I know everything about everything. What that means is in my space, I'm going to lead the conversation about what I'm being shown by my guides is best for all of us to be looking at right now. And that's the only conversation I'm going to be holding. I had to get clear on what do I want to stand for? How do I want to show up with my community? How do I want to show up on social media? And stay within that. Would it be easy for me to participate in all the rhetoric? And of course, I have my own perspectives of what's going on. And I have my own irritations about, some of the things I'm seeing on social media. And that's just an example because I think we all spend a lot of time there. That's not how I choose to show up, and that's not how I choose to lead the conversation, right? So that's the starting place with your business, because in any economy, people want to hire leaders. They need to know as soon as they lean back into you, you got them like that. If they do a trust fall with you, they don't even lean back and you've already got them. You got your hands right under their armpits and you're like, I've got you, right? And if people don't feel that from you, they're not going to hire you. And especially now, if you're nowhere to be seen, what do people fill in the gaps, right? In the absence of information, people fill in the gaps. Maybe she went out of business. Maybe she's having a hard time. Maybe she's got COVID. Maybe she's getting a divorce. Maybe, because they don't know, right? And
maybe she's just baking at home.
Which is totally. And I get that everyone's having their own experience, but I will say that for people that were proud to call themselves a leader and happy to use that title in order to generate a lot of income before all this went down, and now they're nowhere to be seen, I can assure you from all of the conversations I've been having with my colleagues and my clients, people are noticing that. And that's going to be really hard to bounce back from. And it's not too late to lead the conversation, but so much of this is about a leadership journey. And the records can absolutely help people determine how they're going to show up as a leader, as a spiritual leader. Even if your business isn't spiritual, how are you going to show up in that presence in such a way that people feel like, it's a very noisy world right now on social media. Why do I want to listen to this person?
So I'm kind of I'm getting a sense of, instead of being narrow and wide, this is the time to choose your lane and go deep. And
well, for the love of God, please stay in your lane. I didn't even know I had so many friends that became epidemiologists over the last 5 weeks. I had no idea I had so many people that went to medical school and in 3 weeks. Like, what in the absolute world, right? It's just astounding to me. Yes, please stay in your lane, because honestly, if you're spreading around information trying to be helpful, but you truly are not qualified to give out medical advice or things that people look to for you to have qualifications, it's actually damaging your brand. It's going to damage your brand if you don't show up. It's going to damage your brand if you go online right now and you go online to make gripes, to take swipes, and to tattle. Those three things, nobody likes those things. They didn't like those things in grade 3. They sure as hell don't like those things now. Don't be that person. Oh my God, don't be that person.
Yeah.
So,
and be grounded and have a voice of certainty, right? Around, which in a way is what this Superhuman Summit is all about. We have 40 speakers of people who have stayed in their lane and who are showing up and delivering and sharing just as you are from their heart and being of service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'm living with someone 24/7 who I adore. He's a protector. He's my biff. We are life partners together. Like, we're in this together. And had you told me that before you marry someone, you need to find out if they're a pro-vaxxer or not, I may have made some other, like, honestly, just being honest here, right? My husband's pro-tech, pro-science, pro-vaccine, and I'm all about question everything you hear. Question all of your sources, right? Always look for what's really going on, what am I being distracted from, and who's benefiting. That's always been my filter. So we have some rules of engagement for sure in our house because I clearly am not someone who is going to back down from a conversation and taking a stand for what I believe, right? There's a lot of love there for sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, but we, we have to stay in our leadership energy for sure. We have to stay in our lane. It's not about trying to please everyone. And especially now, because in isolation, and this is just proven psychology, that in isolation, it brings up a lot of stuff. If you study someone that's in jail and they've been put in isolation for any period of time, the same psychology that's happening collectively right now is what happens to people when they're in solitary confinement, right? And so we have to manage our energy. We have to figure out what we're standing for. We have to stay in alignment with that. We have to understand that even though we have to be in the and also. Yes, I'm experiencing these things, and I'm also choosing to be in my leadership energy. And really understanding that the less people see us and or the more they see us acting out of alignment with what they expected our brand and our leadership to be, the more dissonance it creates for them. And there's already enough dissonance going on, right? And so how can we be a contribution to helping people and just get out there and serve? When I first started my business, that's all I did. I was like one person at a time. Just imagine you're speaking to one person at a time, and you'd be amazed, as you well know, right? Because you've been doing this for a long time. Like, you think you're talking to one person, but you end up reaching 1,000 people who all go, oh my God, yes, that's exactly how I feel. I need this.
And so I just wrote down the 3 key things I think that kind of summarize what you've just been sharing with us, what I just got then. 3 rules of engagement, shall we say? More hubby. Number 1, manage your energy. Manage your energy because of what's going on around at the moment. Number 2, choose what you're standing for. So make a choice, pick your lane, choose what you're standing for, and that you have background and knowledge and wisdom in. And number 3, stay in your leadership energy and serve. That's what I heard as the 3 key things. So do you mind if we open up to questions now? And we do have one from Kendra, which is, can you read that there, Jennifer?
I will find it here. Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
I was walking through shadow work recently,
a little bit of
and I've had a few pop. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a few pop up around my business, even though I'm passionate about it. I haven't accessed my records or asked my guides about my records. Would that help with the shadows? Yeah, absolutely. Right now, holy cow. Kendra, I'm so glad you asked this, because everyone's experiencing this and not everyone's admitting it. There's a lot of rabbit holes to go down right now. And some rabbit holes require one carrot to lure you out, and some require like a whole bundle, right, to get you back out of the rabbit hole. And because of that, causes us to question our sanity because we're having so much cognitive dissonance around just a lot of things, right? Regardless of what we believe is going on, we still have a lot. We're still realizing that maybe we were friends with people that held beliefs that were really contrary to beliefs that we can support. Like there's just a lot happening. And so, yeah, the whole thing about the records is about getting us into the light and getting us and illuminating the light. And the cool thing is that because so many light workers have been to work for the last several years, they have illuminated a lot of stuff. And then we forgot that when we illuminate stuff, we also then see it very clearly. And then we can't pretend we haven't seen it, right? So then we have to deal with it. And the same is true with our shadows. I think dealing with our shadows is one of the most courageous things we can do. And so whatever it is, Akashic Records, I'm just a big believer in because it's an efficient tool, and I'm very much about efficiency and effectiveness. I have been with any modalities, right? I know very clearly what modalities work really well in my body. I'm very responsive to homeopathy. I'm very responsive to acupuncture. That's what I stick with, right? Because it works. I don't need to, try a whole bunch of different things. There's a lot of great tools though to deal with shadow stuff. There's hypnosis, there's EFT, there's like shadow coaching, there's emotion code, there's access consciousness. There's so many different tools that are out there that people resonate with.
Great. That's awesome. Excellent.
Hope I answered your question.
Yes, I think that was great. Hopefully that answered your question. Now, a couple of minutes more before we close out. Has anyone else got a last minute question that they'd love to pop into the chat box? And I was just quickly checking the Facebook group as well. Stephen said you're a spiritual kick-ass. Yep.
It's one thing you learn very quickly in forensics, right, is how to use your power and how to just stand firm in your leadership energy, right? So yeah, I think people don't expect that, but I take a stand for people. Especially now, I'm feeling that more so than ever, as I've said 17 times already.
We also had in the Facebook group, Michelle Crone was saying, great, so many intuitives have been led to other sources of income, taking action. Michelle, so our co-facilitator, Michelle Crawford. Hello, Michelle.
Hi,
Michelle. She's asked, how does she stay in her creative energy? And then we've got another last question from Lily. How do we know who we should serve?
Yeah. Okay. So staying in your creative energy, I decided, if I look back on this time in 5 years, will I be proud of how I showed up? Will I be really proud with how I used my time? I'm sure we can all relate to times in our life where we felt like we wasted time or we weren't maybe using it effectively. And I'm not talking about learn 17 languages right now and, have a spotless house and stuff, but I'm saying on a meta level, what do you want to do? So I realized I want to tap into my genius energy. I want to download an invention for humanity. And I don't know how to do that, but I do know it has been done. And so I'm surrounding myself with listening to genius music on, there's actual genius frequency music you can listen to on YouTube. So it's binaural beats. There's a certain frequency. You put your headsets in, it bounces back and forth between your hemispheres. And I'm listening to Beethoven, Mozart, looking through art books with different people that would be considered genius. I'm journaling about, allowing in the genius frequency. I'm just constantly energizing that. And I have been very creative. And so that's just one example that there's, Mozart effect for creativity. I don't know if anyone's ever listened to that, but that's really good. We put my son on that when it's time for him to, really download stuff. There's some essential oils that you can use for creativity. I think it's cool to look at art online. If you don't have art books at home, look at it online. I know a lot of museums and galleries are doing virtual tours. I think anything you can, and also listening to podcasts of people that are creative, right? Just tuning into the energy that's being held that you want to be tapping into.
And I think more than ever, we've actually been given access to things that we may not have easily before. During this time, it's actually really opened a lot up for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So perfect. I hope that answered it for you, Michelle. And so how do we know who we serve? Let's do that as our final question. Thanks for
Well,
that, Lily.
that's a deeper question. That's a deeper question, Lily. I'm saying this with love, but that's just a question I would expect if someone was really trying to be perfect before they put themselves out there. And I'm going to venture a guess that perfectionism probably runs the show a little bit more than you'd like. And I get it because I have that too. When I first started my business, I just knew what I was offering. I knew I wanted to align people to their purpose. I knew I wanted to help people heal from past wounds. And I had clients from Walt Disney execs all the way through to people that picked up our garbage, and blackjack dealers, strippers, collectors for the mafia. Didn't matter. They all came to me. I didn't have any discernment back then, obviously, but I wasn't focused on who I was supposed to serve. I just focused on how I wanted to be a contribution. And I literally just put it out there one person at a time. I know people talk about having a niche, and yes, you have to kind of understand who you're serving. I wasn't trying to convert anyone. I was just saying, hey, if you're ready for this, I have these things available for you. Here's the tools I have that can help you with A, B, and C. And I just constantly broadcast my message. So it's through the serving that you learn what wisdom you have. It's through the serving that you develop mastery, and it's through the serving that you get more clear on who you're meant to serve.
That's so fascinating. And I know for a while, I was putting myself out there from my own experience in some ways, and some of that felt icky. And I sat with what was that about? And I kept getting an intuition that I was a star. And so I was like, well, you got to put yourself out there. And then I got, no, a star shines the light on other people. Like a star just shines light on others. And so that really helped me shift into what I know I'm meant to do, which is create platforms like this to shine a light on amazing people like yourself, and to do podcasts and interview people and share their story. And so once I realized, I'm pushing up the wrong hill, as you say, stay in your lane, then things flowed when I realized it's about creating platforms for others to shine. So it's just, I guess sometimes you're almost there, but it might need a little tweak. And that's where some of the creative energy, or listening to binaural beats or Mozart or whatever, might help you get some of that download.
And I will say too, just very quickly, that I realize that our purpose isn't what we think it is, because ultimately it's about what do we do for people? How do they feel when they're in our presence? So people trust me. It's not because I tell them to or because I need them to. I give off this vibe, right? Whatever this vibe is, that I only want good things for you. I'm cheerleading for you. I'm always going to tell you the truth, and the truth is going to suck sometimes, but I'm going to tell you the truth because I love you enough to tell you the truth. And so because of that, people can do a trust fall with me, right? And I also activate ahas in people. So it's about paying attention as well to what's the reaction people have in our presence. Because it's less about the tool we use. It's not about the Akashic records. It's about the Akashic records facilitating an exchange that allows a certain magic to happen because that label brought us together.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. We could talk for another hour. When's the next summit? We need to get you back. We've been having lovely comments here and on Facebook of people, sensational, just what I needed to hear, loving this, no questions, great discussion. It is through the serving that you learn what you have to give. Yeah, just lots of people saying it's great, and thank you so much for your sharing. So I guess to wrap up, because we are on that hour, is there any other final words you wanted to say? And also, again, we can share the links to your website and those sorts of things. But any final comments for you before I wrap up?
I would just reiterate that if you can get super purposeful right now, just figure out what you're just so passionate about changing about this situation right now, and just sharing it, that passion is going to keep you focused, and also serving people will keep your mind off of what you're experiencing, and just, allow you to be a contribution, which is what we all came here to do.
Absolutely. And you're right, keeps your mind off other things. Remember those 3 tips that kind of were woven through Jennifer talking today. Manage your energy, choose what you stand for, and stay in that leadership energy and serve. Thank you so much for being our opening speaker today. It's just been brilliant. People are saying they're really grateful. I want to remind everyone that we have, another 39 amazing speakers, or 38 plus me, because I'm next in an hour's time. So, and I'll be talking about how we shouldn't be pivoting, but we should be just shifting and not reacting to what's going on. So join me in an hour. If you haven't already, the website again is humanpower.com.au/summit. There are so many great people there to share their wisdom. And the great thing is, if you really can't get on at the time, you need to register, because then you'll get a recording in about a week's time. Or also jump into the Facebook group called the Superhuman Summit, where people will be chatting throughout the whole thing. We live stream into that every day, and it's just been amazing. Thank you to all the people for your questions and all the people who hopped on. And please go forth and continue to do your wonderful work in the world. It's been amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. Much love to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.